Hey there, Script Reader Pro family. Scott Parisienne here once again. And this video, we're going to tackle that big old scary monster, rewriting. I know it's scary, I know it can be tough, but it is highly rewarding, and rewriting will help you become a better writer every time. So, let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm Scott Parisienne, and today we're going to talk about everyone's favorite thing when it comes to screenwriting, and that is rewrites. Don't be afraid of the rewriting process. I say embrace the rewriting process. Nothing gets great on a first try. And while some people do write amazing first drafts, you can't just stop there. You need to dig in. You need to challenge your script. You want to put out something that is undeniable. So today, we're going to talk about some different rewriting hacks, things that I do, things that I know other writers do, as they go in to attack their script once they've completed it and let it sit and are ready to go back in and do the real writing work, which all comes down to rewriting what you already have, sacrificing, cutting, finding new scenes, learning things all over again about your characters. The first thing you want to do is set your mind in the proper place. You want to embrace the process of rewriting. It should be fun. I have a blast when I go back into my script because I don't always remember every single thing I've written. I sit there like I'm going to a movie, I make popcorn, I sit down and I read through my script. I just embrace it, right? Set my mind as I go back in there and tell myself that I'm going to be finding things to fix, that I'm going to be finding things to make better. So it's all about getting that right mindset in place. The second thing to keep in mind when you go in is that you know your characters more now at the end of that draft than you did when you first wrote it. So you're going to look at their voices. Looking for voices in your character and finding moments that don't quite equate with how you now know your character is a great way to increase that dialogue on that first pass. Look for those areas where your character's talking and you're thinking to yourself, well, no, my character wouldn't say that. I know her now better than I knew her before, and that just doesn't fit with the way she is now, with her worldview, with her attitude, personality, whatever it is. You're going to know your characters more. So whether it's dialogue or even just their choices in the story, you may find something about your character when they make a choice on page 37 that you now know doesn't fit for them, that it doesn't feel organic, that it doesn't feel true to their character. That may send your story on a completely different skew. So it's a matter of figuring out, how do you handle that? What do you do with that? And how do you go forward? But you will know them more. So remember that when you go in, that you're looking for areas where your character's voice and even who they are don't really dictate the moment in the proper way based on how you know them now. The third thing you want to do when you go into a rewrite process is to set different goals. You don't just go into a rewrite to tackle everything. That's just overwhelming. It's not going to work out well for you. You want to set different goals and do a bunch of different rewrites. So you want to do one where you go in and you look strictly at dialogue. Then you want to go in and look strictly at tone. And then go back in for character setups. Go back in to check out all of your setups and then check out all of your payoffs. Go through your pages, make sure they look good. Creating more pace on the page. So you want to have different rewrite passes that you go in to focus on stuff. If it's a comedy and you want to punch things up, go back in looking for all of those great moments where you can have better punchlines, where you can have better button moments at the end of your scenes to hit a punchline, whether it's physical or spoken or visual, whatever it may be. But go in with a different set of goals for each pass. It's less overwhelming and you really get some keen focus. Another great thing that you can do is look at something scene by scene. And what I mean by that is you actually copy that whole scene out of your script and place it in a new document by itself. This is something that will allow you to get a new look at that scene, because you're not worrying about what's before it or what's after it. You're looking at it just a subconscious trick of exactly that scene in and of itself. So this is where you go into a scene and you begin to challenge how late you get in and how early you get out. We've always heard that that's what you should do with scenes. So you look at that first line, you ask yourself, okay, if I cross that out and start on the next line, will I still make sense of the scene? And if I do the next one, will that still make sense? Does it still work? And you go until you can't go forward anymore. Well, that's where you need to start. Start late, as late as possible, and in conflict in some type of way if you can help it. Same at the end of the scene. Ask yourself what the point of that scene is. What is that morsel of character or piece of plot that we are expected to get, that you want your audience to receive? Once you get that, see if you're hanging around at all. See if you're still biding your time and wasting the page space. So looking at each scene by itself can help to really identify how late and how early you need to be. The next thing you can do when you go in as a whole pass on its own, go in and read each scene and ask yourself, what do you need the audience to feel at the end of that scene? How do you want your audience leaving that moment? If you want them to have a certain emotion like melancholy or fear or anger or edge of the seat, leaning forward into your script, ask yourself what you're wanting them to feel and make sure that you are delivering on that by the end of that scene. It's a great way to remember that emotional connection to your characters and your script is one of the best ways to write. You need that emotional connection, and the longer you have it and the more intense it is, the more gripped your audience will be to that script. And your first audience is your reader, so that's the person you're identifying with as you try to put that emotion through as an audience. Much like going into each scene and asking what the audience is supposed to feel, look at your tone of each scene. You want to look at your tone over the whole script, and you want to make sure that your script has a tone that stays in line with itself. You don't want your tone to be all over the place so we're not quite sure what kind of movie it is or how we're supposed to be experiencing it. If you want your audience to have no doubt about the dread they're feeling as you are building, or the intensity or the sadness that's coming, make sure that the tone is there. And tone is interesting because every sentence you write will affect your tone in some way in the way you write it. Do what you can to make sure that you have a nice even tone, and look at it from beginning to end, not just in each scene. From beginning to end, you want to make sure that we are going to experience that entire story with the right feeling in our chest. And if there's anything that's fluctuating and a scene is taking you out of that or changing completely and suddenly we feel like we're in a comedy when we're not supposed to be, things like that, you're going to see that if you focus through that lens over that pass. One of the strongest passes you can do as you're done, right, is dialogue. Dialogue is probably the most difficult thing to master in the screenwriting process, because dialogue in a movie isn't like dialogue in real life, right? Every single line spoken by your character should have a reason for being spoken. Every word, every piece of subtext, every piece of trickery of the tongue that you have your characters using should be important. Everything matters. So you go through your script and you look for talking head scenes where it's just characters sitting around or standing around for 4 or 5 pages with zero action or description happening. You want to look for moments where characters are having conversations just for the sake of having conversations. You're going to look for exposition in that dialogue, and if it feels like you're spoon feeding your audience, you want to find a cleverer way to deliver that to us. When you've done everything else, dialogue is the thing you want to look at the very end, because that's when you know everybody best. You're about to walk away from them. You're about to say goodbye for a while. So you want to make sure that they are presenting themselves in the best way. You now know them. They're deep in your head. They're deep in your body. You know these characters inside and out. So look at that dialogue in that final challenge of your script to make sure everything is as it should be. So now you've gone through a whole bunch of rewrites, a whole bunch of passes, a whole bunch of things that you're focusing on. You want to make sure that your format is perfect. You don't want to have any outliers. You don't want to have any strange things happening. You just want to make sure that you're not causing anybody to step outside of your script and lose the momentum of falling into your story. And one of the tricks to that is looking for orphans. Now, a lot of people I've talked to, and I mentioned that, I'm surprised that not many know what that term is supposed to mean, but orphan lines in your script are, for an example like this, those one or two words that are on that page in your sentences that are forcing one line or two lines to be 2 or 3 lines long. If you have one word or 2 words on that final line, you want to rewrite that sentence. You want to restructure it to make sure that you have exactly what you need on that page to not have any wasted space. It's a great way to save space in your script, to shorten things up, because every line you bring up is going to affect the overall length of your script. And it just reads better and looks better and creates a better momentum down the page. And the final hack of rewriting is know when you're done. You have to know when to walk away. You've got feedback from people. You've sent it out to a whole bunch of people. You've asked them to find the problems. You've gotten coverage and you've gone through and done all your rewrites. Know when is enough. If you keep sending it out, you're always going to get different opinions. Everybody, 10 people can read your screenplay and every single one of them are going to have a different reaction. They're all going to have different things that bothered them or that came to them or holes or whatever they find that they have a problem with. That's when you stop. That's when you say, I can go back in again and again and change 7 words here and 7 words there, but it's not changing your overall script. You're not really doing any rewrites. You're just going in and altering things, and that won't change the overall effect of the script. Know when enough is enough. And rewriting can feel scary because we want to feel at the end of that first draft that that's it. That's the best we could put out there. It's everything we have. But it's not. I promise you. You are going to get better. And the more you do rewrites and the more you challenge yourself, you build your skill set. You sharpen your tools. And you do get better with every page. That's what we do these videos for. That's what we're all about at Script Reader Pro. We are here to get you better with every page. If you haven't discovered our services yet, head over to scriptreaderpro.com. We've got all of our services listed there. We do everything you can imagine. Everything under the sun for writers. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that little alert button on there so you can get alerted when we do drop new videos. Check out our other videos. Check out the videos on the side, the ones that are linked. Check out all of the info below. Comment. Let us know what you think. And until next time, write hard.